you said that purpose has a particular smell. I said, because I asked you, when you started to feel the sense of purpose, and you said that purpose has a particular smell. It has a particular feeling. For some of the people who are still in that position where they can't look back and connect the dots yet, like we talked about with Steve Jobs' quote, for some of those people who might still be in the kitchen of purpose and they don't realize what they're smelling, help people understand from someone like you who's watched so many people identify their purpose, who has such an incredible story of looking back and connecting the dots. Help some of our listeners understand, what does it look like when you start to feel purpose?
Yeah, well, quickly, because there's a whole other episode we could talk about this. How well do you know your stories? Let me tell you what that means. There have been things that happened to you throughout your life that have absolutely course-corrected the trajectory of your life. We're all a bundle of stories walking through our day, and those stories are what shaped us. And when you go back to the 0 and 10 years of your life, meaning 0 years old to 10 years old, the most formative years, it's when our value systems are actually created during that time. You need to think through those stories. Who did you love? How did they love you? How do you define love currently, and who attributed to that definition of love? When you were losing track of time, what were you doing? Who was around you? You need to understand your background so well, and this is why I said it's one of those things that when you see this, you can't unsee it. When you see the lens of vision, mission, values, principles, ethos, when you see it through this lens, you go through your entire life and you figure out that these moments were so significant. And at the time, you didn't realize what you were smelling. And so it's a very intentional exercise. And look, for folks that feel uncomfortable with this, good. Like the only way, what if I told you the only way for you to find, I even define happiness and fulfillment differently, but I want to say for the folks that are looking for fulfillment, how willing are you to dig deep back into your past and dig up stories that you feel were emotionally shaping and formative in your life? What if I told you that your levels of fulfillment were in direct proportion to the amount of time you spent digging up those stories? Would you do anything about it? That's the question. And you say, oh man, this is all like a bunch of, BS. And no, it's not. It's psychology and biology. It's where we come from. It's who's informed ourselves and our opinions. So I would challenge you to dig up stories that were emotionally shaping and put them on a line of demarcation chronologically throughout your life. Your kind of like your life's equator. And you have stories that are above the equator, things that were emotionally shaping, that impacted you tremendously in your life, that you relive in your mind every single day. You put those above the equator. For those stories that are below the equator, the ones you would never want to relive again, but yet we're still emotionally shaping and run through your mind every day, you have to map those out too. And what you're going to find when you map out this equator of your life, that there's going to be a common thread. Some people call it the golden thread. Other people call it, the sinew that holds us together and binds us together. But there's a story in there that will actually give you the answer you're looking for in the present moment. Fulfillment and happiness are directly proportionate to how well you understand your stories and where you come from. So that's my challenge to those that are listening.